Hello and welcome to this podcast series brought to you by Connect Health Tech, Cambridge University's Enterprise Zone and the gateway into the university's life sciences and health tech community. I'm Nikki Mann and I help lead the communications strategy for Connect Health Tech. And in this episode, I'm delighted to sit down to chat with Connect Health Tech's business community manager, Paula Rogers-Brown, in celebration of Connect Health Tech's 1-year anniversary. We'll be looking at what Connect Health Tech has achieved over the past 12 months and look into the future, thinking about what's on Connect Health Tech's roadmap for the next year and beyond. So, hi Paula, thanks very much for joining today. I'm honoured to be able to ask the questions to the woman who is usually asking the questions herself. So it's great to have you here. And although I've known you for a little while now, I'm really looking forward to delving inside of your brain and finding out what makes you tick. And of course, everything about Connect Health Tech. So don't be scared, okay?
I am. Thank you very much. This is it's very unusual to be on the other side of the desk, so to speak. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I feel powerful. I feel very powerful. So why don't you introduce yourself, first of all, for the benefit of our newcomers?
Okay, so I'm Paula Rogers-Brown and I'm the Business Community Manager for the university's Gateway for Life Sciences, Connect Health Tech. Just a little bit about me. I previously led innovation programs for the Knowledge Transfer Network, Innovate UK, and was head of sector engagement for transport at the Institution of Engineering and Technology. So I've got a long background in stakeholder engagement, running large programs on an international scale in the commercial sector and also in the not-for-profit sector. So it was great to come and work for the University of Cambridge and take on something brand new.
Your background doesn't surprise me, Paula. It matches exactly with your personality, and especially the sort of project management and getting stuck in and building those relationships. It doesn't surprise me at all. In a nutshell, what is Connect Health Tech?
Well, Connect Health Tech, simply put, does what the name suggests. It connects people, ideas, knowledge, collaborators, funding opportunities, and much, much more around health technologies. Our foundations are rooted in the university's vision to build an interdisciplinary bridge between two of its research hubs, one being in the West, which is focused on science and technology, and also then in the South, which is more biomedical focused. And we are primarily powered by an online community, which is great. And we aim to bring together and integrate a community of stakeholders from the physical and life sciences to mobilize collective knowledge that will help address some of our greatest healthcare challenges and create those transformative therapies of the future. Through the digital platform, navigating the Cambridge ecosystem is now easier for the global health tech community, increasing efficiency and making connections and finding those collaborators for research projects or spin outs if that's where you're going, and exploring relevant events and just really engaging with the rich content and diverse research and projects that are going on across the Cambridge cluster. So you can hear a lot of or gain a lot of rich content and insights from members and experts sharing their experiences and career pathways through some of our podcasts, member profile articles, and just generally what people are talking about. So anyway, I could talk for hours.
Something you said there always really resonates. So making Cambridge easier to navigate. I mean, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Cambridge is such a secret. If you don't know somebody or you don't know somebody who knows somebody, it's so difficult to actually find the expertise and the knowledge and the person that you're looking for. The online community really fascinates me because being able to bring everybody together in one digital space is such a benefit for so many things. So in Connect Health Tech is still relatively new, right? So why were you drawn to this particular role?
I think mainly because it was a brand new project that required everything that appeals to me and suits my skill set. So that's developing strategy, shaping an innovation ecosystem, which I love to do, building an engaged community around a technical or scientific subject, knowledge sharing, massive on knowledge sharing and exchanging and disseminating knowledge. And ultimately, creating and delivering a sustainable legacy from scratch. There are still legacy elements of previous programs that I've running to this day, which I see through LinkedIn and so forth, and it's fantastic. So I hope in many, many, many more years to come, Connect Health Tech is still thriving and growing, and sharing all good stuff.
What's your favourite thing about the role now? You've been in the role a while.
Well, I'll just go back a little bit before answering that question, because we started Connect Health Tech, really started to build those foundations at the start of the pandemic. My first day in the job was the 23rd of March 2020. That was the day we were all told to stay home. So starting a new job, starting from scratch, there's nothing there apart from the funding that we'd had from Research England and the project team. And you got to do it from home. You got to do this all online, remotely. Was a real challenge in itself to do, and to think, how can we achieve our vision when initially the thought was that Connect Health Tech would be something that was far more physical, as we would do traditionally with programs. There'd be some digital elements, but there'd be a heavy amount of physical elements, activities, events, symposiums, conferences, content going on here, there, and everywhere, but in a physical form. Well, pandemic just cut that straight out. So we had to pivot and be nimble and agile and create a digital first approach to then galvanize a community. And we were very fortunate enough to have the support of the UEZ advisory group, the project team, really just helping to support and gently nudge this along the road. And Professor Andy Neely has been so supportive of that quick change and just being responsive and adapting to the needs of the market, really. But not an easy thing to do, particularly as, digital platforms is a very competitive space. So it was a challenge, but we are getting there. And in terms of my favorite things, I think this goes back to what I enjoy about building strategy programs from scratch is getting beneath the skin of a topic and developing it. But developing it so that it can be understood by everyone. I'm really, really keen on that. Making sure it can be understood by everyone, no matter what level you are, no matter what stage you are in your career. It can be understood by everyone, and thus can be then interacted with. You can engage with it, because if you can understand it, you can get involved, you can contribute, you can take insights and knowledge from it. And that has to be, for me, one of the bedrocks. That's one of the foundation stones for me. Can everybody understand what it is that we're trying to do and achieve or building here?
I just almost fell off my chair with the first day of a new job being the first day of lockdown. Is not ideal in any job or any career, but in one where you've been brought in to literally facilitate building relationships and making connections with people. I mean, that's not just a pivot, right? That's absolutely huge. I can't even begin to imagine what that must have felt like. What's an average day like now?
God, it really depends. There's such a variety of things, Nikki. I could be writing a strategic funding proposal, recording a podcast, or prepping to interview a guest, chairing a meeting, working with suppliers, or talking to other team members about a collaboration we're working on. Like we were talking this morning about the forthcoming Millness Symposium. It could be a variety of things. And currently I'm trying to recruit for a new team member to provide more support for our efforts with Connect Health Tech. So that's taking time. So it could be a range of things. And yeah, there's definitely a mixture every day of the week, unless I am right in the heart of doing a funding proposal, and everything else has to really stop because my brain has to focus. And
so the answer is there is no average day.
There is no average day. No average day. Can't be. No.
So obviously we've just celebrated Connect Health Tech's first birthday. A few glasses of Prosecco were enjoyed that day. So what would you say have been your and Connect Health Tech's biggest achievements over the past 12 months?
I would say, just following on from what you've said, being able to celebrate a successful year since launch, particularly through our community awards a couple of weeks ago, and recognising the great contribution that our members, the guests and team behind the scenes have given since we launched in May 2021. I think that was a fantastic achievement. But also launching that online community, as I said, that pivot there, when I was offered the role, it wasn't digital first. It was absolutely there, but it was a smaller part of the overall strategy. So to then pivot and figure that out, and we've had some trials and tribulations, you know, Nikki, along the way to where we've arrived with Connect Health Tech, with the platform that we have, and grow organically to nearly 800 members in the space of a year. Wow, you know, in a digital era where there are so many types of platforms an individual can be a part of professionally and personally, it's been a huge achievement to create something that is relevant, appealing and useful. For me, that's a really big achievement in terms of Connect Health Tech. Personally, I would say achieving through adversity. My mum passed away in January 2021. And to put it mildly, I've been to hell and back. Losing a loved one during the middle of a pandemic is a trauma within a trauma, and my goodness, you really feel it. So you're grieving, you don't ever stop grieving, but you're grieving and you're still trying to make significant progress and a really positive impact. Team around me has been fantastic, but to really make a positive impact with CHT at that time was not easy. So I think that's a big personal achievement there for me.
That's really relatable. We're all human, right? So it's so easy to forget that things are going on in everybody's lives that you don't necessarily know about, and to have sort of come through, as you say, never stop grieving, but to have come through that and actually look back on a really successful year, I think that's such a nice achievement to highlight. And I think just going back to Connect Health Tech's biggest achievements, the online platform, I mean, you know me, I love all things digital. I love a bit of social media. And I think what I really have loved seeing on the Connect Health Tech online platform over the past year is not just the growth in terms of the amount of people joining, but actually the different ways that people are interacting now.
Absolutely.
Now that there's more content going on, their fresh content with the interviews that you're doing, the podcast and so on and so forth, it's actually seeing that those conversations just starting to be sparked and people consuming the information, but actually then connecting about a common interest. So what's about the greatest challenge then? I mean, that's some brilliant achievements there. I mean, you've highlighted some pretty incredible challenges already, so maybe we already know the answer.
It's an ongoing challenge, and it sort of follows what you've just said there, and it will be continuing to develop as we evolve our offering. And that's really around the challenges around ensuring we have high engagement levels, particularly across member to member interactions within the online community spaces. And that is really, really important as we want it to become the norm that people keep coming back to on Connect Health Tech, and to also continue to find it relevant and useful. And it's probably going to be our continual greatest challenge. I think anybody that runs an online platform, wouldn't matter whether you're LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, you know, keeping engagement levels is absolutely key. And as I said, in the digital era, when there are so many other things to call upon your time, as well as what's in front of you to do, yeah, you know, it's something that's constantly at the top of the to-do list, basically. Yeah. Got to keep those engagement levels going. So yeah, I think that's the ongoing one.
I think what's important to remember is that actually an engagement, absolutely, we need as much engagement as possible, so everybody should go on the platform and start engaging immediately. But I think what's really, really key to remember is that if they're not engaging, it doesn't mean they're not finding the content valuable. The amount of people on there who are consuming the information is fantastic, and I think it just highlights that it is bringing people together. At any moment, someone might go on there and go, okay, I'm looking for an expert in this. Can anybody help? You're in the right place, right time. It's always available 24/7. So I'm gonna put you on the spot here, and I'm gonna make sure that we come back to this in 12 months' time. So I can tell you if you've won or not. What's the plan for the next 12 months?
I would say, first of all, to understand, now we have so many community members, is understanding what our community members would like us to do more or less of. So we will be conducting a member survey to get a sense of satisfaction levels and things people would like to see, as I said, more or less of, because that will give us a really good steer for future planning of content, etc. Developing also as well, because we've been deep in pandemic times, we now need to start thinking strategically. How can we develop and implement some really compelling physical activities for health tech stakeholders to engage with, not only in the Cambridge cluster, because we are a global health tech community, but who can we partner with across other UK life science clusters to create and run some activities, some events, whatever it might, shape or form it might look like, to then start to engage a wider community. So do what we're doing, keep doing what we're doing, which is fantastic and great, and making sure that the offering is right for the current member set, but also thinking broaden of the Cambridge cluster. We have so many international members of Connect Health Tech. Again, the stats don't lie to us. So ensuring that we are inclusive at all times to our stakeholders is really important. So trying to implement some physical activities as well as understanding what online members would like us to do. And also really just continue to develop our offering for interdisciplinary collaborations. We are going to be setting out to really try and foster some purposeful collaborations around key topics such as functional genomics going forward and oncology. So what we don't know exactly what they look like yet, because we're still developing the embryonic stage. But stuff like that is really important to the work of the original founding members of Connect Health Tech, so the Maxwell and the Milner, the Office for Translational Research, and CATS, looking at how we can help create and foster more interdisciplinary collaborations with, partners across the university, across the Cambridge cluster, across the UK, and globally as well.
Two of the things you said there, they sort of intertwine, don't they? Because one thing that we've been missing over the past 2 years or more, I've lost track of the time, is that you don't get the same sort of serendipity effect online as you do in person. It's not the same. So we've created a space online that actually makes that much easier. But having those in-person interactions and letting serendipity do its thing, and people coming together that wouldn't necessarily have met otherwise, is so crucial for exactly what you've just said about sort of fostering those collaborations and sparking new partnerships and so on and so forth. So I'm really excited actually to get to some Connect Health Tech events and see people in person.
Yeah, I think there are some really exciting times ahead. I think we created, again, as part of the vision for Connect Health Tech, was to create a transferable model. And I think we've proved as such that this can be transferred not only within other life science clusters across the UK or wherever is necessary, Europe or anywhere across the world, but also cross-sector. So, the agri-tech sector could be having their own version of Connect Health Tech as a platform. Carbon zero agenda, the sustainability agenda, could have their own model of a Connect Health Tech digital platform to connect their state relevant stakeholders together. And it's starting those conversations about, this is what we've done, this has been our experience, this has been our journey. Happy to share the knowledge to help you out. And I think really in trying to create some physical activities that really bring in external partners, starting with other life science clusters from across the UK, I think would be a really great step forward, and helps build strategically our plans to ensure that we're engaging with other clusters around the UK. It's not all happening in Cambridge. We're doing fantastic stuff. We are a great centrepiece and showcase for UK PLC, but other parts of the UK are doing fantastic work too. And again, bringing that knowledge together collaboratively to share with others so we can create even more fantastic stuff. And those transformative therapies, I think, will be a brilliant win for all.
So I'm going to go, I've stolen your questions from previous podcasts because I like them so much. And I'm going to ask you a few of the quick fire questions. The first one, which will always make me laugh, from your podcast with Michael Salako from Start Code On. Whenever I see this question written down or I hear someone being asked it, all I can hear is him saying that he'd like to be a lion. I will never not hear it. So you should, if you haven't heard that, folks, check that podcast out because it was a good one with Michael. It's really fantastic. So with that in mind, if you could be an animal, Paula, what animal would you be and why?
Okay, well, I'm going to be very similar. I'm going to be a little lion, and I would be a cat, because they live the best life. They live the best life, and they know it too. They know it too. We've got a rescue, and my goodness, she is Mrs. Princess around the house, and she absolutely knows it. So I want their life. It's just, humans on tap to serve and protect. And just chill.
I'm really on board with that one. I don't think there is a better life than the life of a house cat. All right. So what is your pet hate? I'm excited about this one.
Probably, there are so many, but probably rudeness. And particularly around the small, simple things, saying please and thank you costs nothing. And I can't bear it when bad manners are displayed.
Really true. That's a really good one. That's a really, really good one. Manners cost nothing.
Manners cost nothing. And we were all brought up. No parent out there is not bringing up their child not knowing how to say yes, no.
I've taken notes, Paula. I don't think I'm rude, but I've taken notes just to be on the safe side. What's your favourite season or time of the year?
For someone who was born in the autumn, you'd think it'd be the autumn, but it's not. I am a summer girl all day long. Longer days, hot weather, warm evenings, dining al fresco at any time of the day. What's not to like?
Bit of sunshine, glass of wine. Ooh.
Exactly. Prosecco, you and me, Nikki. Yeah, we're there. Anyway, I might add though, this is me thinking I am abroad, because the weather we're getting here in the UK at the minute is rubbish. Like, where is summer? We're in June.
Monday, no, it was summer on Monday. That's it now.
That was it. We've had our 3 days, and that was in April.
That's all you get. Okay. If you could time travel, where would you go and when?
Oh my gosh. You know what? When I ask this question, I'm always thinking to myself, so what would I say? What would I say? And I have no idea. Okay. This one, it's just popped into my head. I would probably go back to 15th of January, 2021, which was the day before my mum passed away. And I would absolutely tell her I loved her. She already knew, because we'd already spoken that day, but I just absolutely made sure she knew that. Yeah.
I love that, Paula. You expect to hear, 1920s, so on and so forth. That's not very long ago. That's a lovely one. I can get on board with that one. Mm-hmm. So maybe then, with your mum in mind, maybe the best piece of advice will be from your mum. Who knows? But what is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
It is from my mum.
I knew it.
It was, and it's something that I absolutely hold dear. And she would always say, be good. And if you can't be good, be careful. That was her line. And that's the best piece of advice.
And you remember that every day?
Yeah. She had so many. We call them Audreyisms, because her name was Audrey. So there are so many Audreyisms, but that one is number one. Number one, be good. And if you can't be good, be careful.
Love it. All right, I'm making a note of that one as well while I've got my notepad. Oh, Paula, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed that. In fact, if we could just schedule another one just to find out a few more bits and bobs, that would be good. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you and finding out a bit more about you. And I hope everybody listening has enjoyed it as well, and I'm sure they will.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.